everybody. My name is Angie Vishianen, and I am the founder of Leg Up Legal. We provide a mentoring program that connects prospective law students to lawyers for mentoring so that they can learn a little bit more about the legal profession in law school before they dive in. And we've been doing these Zoom meetups every week during the COVID-19 pandemic so that you can connect with each other and hear from lawyers and law school admissions coaches who can tell you more about the law school admissions process and what practicing law is really all about. And so I've been inviting two guest speakers every week, and today I have a very special guest speaker with me, Hayley Levi. How do I say your last name, actually?
Leviashvili. I get that question a lot.
Okay, well, I have a hard last name too, so.
Yeah, you do.
And so I've got Hayley Leviashvili, right, with me and she is the founder of a platform called gigLAW, which allows law students to connect with legal employers for project-based assignments. And so I will let Hayley take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be chatting with everyone from all over the country. So yeah, today we will be discussing how project-based assignments can launch your legal success. So I'm not only going to dive into the importance of project-based assignments and just getting your hands dirty and getting experience while in law school, but also the reason why that's so important. And the reason why I found it so essential throughout my legal education was because it really helped me find what I'm passionate about. And I think passion has everything to do with your entire career. Because if you're not passionate, then you're not going to be happy. And if you're not happy, then you're not going to perform as well as you probably could. So just to give a bit of a roadmap for where the discussion will be going today, first I'll provide some background information on myself. Then I'm going to discuss the importance of gaining hands-on experience. And then I'll dive into some tips and advice on how to get hands-on experience, not only through externships and the classes that you take in school, but also through networking and actually completing contract-based work. And then if we have time before the questions part of the discussion, I was thinking we can maybe do some hands-on exercises based on some projects that we actually get submitted to our platform at gigLAW. So just to dive right in, some background on myself. I was born and raised in New York on Long Island. And when I turned 18, I wanted to get as far away as possible. I wanted something new. And I also fell in love with California the first time I visited when I turned 16. So I went out to USC for undergrad. I see Kendra, you're from USC as well. So yeah, I'm a West Coast. My heart's in the West Coast in LA. And I had an incredible experience there. And being in Hollywood, being in LA, even though USC is downtown, I really fell in love with film and television. So I always envisioned myself going to law school, which I'm sure many of you have as well. And I kind of had this vision that I was going to combine entertainment with human rights. So because I am New York based, I focused my law school search in New York, which is how I ended up at Fordham Law in New York City. I see we have someone from Cardozo as well, and Cardozo was one of my options. And I know Cardozo has a great entertainment program. But so when I went to Fordham, I was again committed to this entertainment track. So I went to the Career Center and I said to them, hey, I'm obsessed with entertainment. I want to be on the front lines. I know I'm not creative, but I think being an entertainment attorney is exactly where I'm meant to be. How can I get there? And the advice that they gave me was to go to OCI, go to a big firm, practice for a little, and then that'll open doors for me and I can figure out specialties then. And I'm the type of person where I personally don't like when I'm being told there's one track to getting there. I also was like, okay, if I go to a firm, stay there for 3 to 5 years, that's 8 years from now, but I want to be in entertainment now. So I kind of just disregarded that advice and tried to forge my own path. And so I forged my own path by just networking as much as possible. I was reaching out to any entertainment attorney in New York or LA that would take the time to speak to me just so I could pick their brains, hear about how they got from law school to where they are now, and take the advice that they gave me and try to apply it to my life. And that actually ended up working out really well because there was one entertainment attorney based in LA that worked at Warner Brothers. And so we hopped on a call and she was so nice, telling me her story, giving me incredible advice, and we really connected. And she, at the end of the phone call, she said, hey, how about you send me over your resume? You never know, I could give it to someone here. You never know what could happen. Maybe you can work here after your 1L summer. And so I was so excited and shocked that this woman who I just met over the phone was willing to do that for me. And I was excited, but I didn't expect anything because I was like, Warner Brothers is huge. It's okay if I don't get anything. It's fine. Just having the opportunity to chat with this attorney was all I needed. And what ended up happening, one thing led to another, and I actually was able to land that internship at Warner Brothers. And so after my 1L summer, I went to Warner Brothers. I was working in domestic TV distribution, and my bosses were amazing. The perks were incredible. I got to go to movie premieres. I got all this free swag from the Warner Brothers collection. If anyone's DC Comics fan, I got a lot of Batman and that stuff. So it was a great summer. But at the end of the summer, I had already, because I think a lot of people are told you have to plan way far ahead. And so I knew from the start that I didn't want to do OCI and I didn't want to go to a big firm. I was still on this entertainment track. So while I was at Warner Brothers still, I started shooting out emails to entertainment firms because Warner Brothers said you have to have some firm experience before you work here full time. And so I was just,
Real quick, I love everything that you're saying, and I just want to like zoom in on some of the things that you're saying.
Okay, of course.
I think it's so important for law students to realize right away that your destiny is in your own hands.
Absolutely.
And I think that so many people who get into law school are just like, I'm going to show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on my first day, and then like, I'm going to let all of you people dictate what happens to me, which is the weirdest, most bizarre thing.
It's
because
bizarre.
Like you get in and it's like so overwhelming. Like people are just telling you all sorts of information, and you're hearing all this stuff from upperclassmen and professors and everything about like what is everyone doing for their job. And you're still so brand new to the world that you're not really sure if you should be trying to forge a path yourself.
Exactly.
And so you're caught up and you're like, okay, I will just go with the flow, which is a terrible idea. Right? And so I love that you actually knew, okay, OCI is not for me. Like, this is not for me. I want to be in-house. So funny because I was very similar to you when I was in law school, and I knew I wanted to do trademark law, right? You don't get to take trademarks in your first year at all. Wanted to be in-house, didn't want to be at a firm. So I ended up externing with Under Armour.
Amazing.
And and then after I graduated law school, I ended up working for a firm that one of our biggest clients was Marvel. And so we got to do and so we did some entertainment stuff too. So it was just really fun to hear your story. And I wanted to talk more about like, okay, so once you decided like I'm going to take my own destiny into my own hands, you went and started doing these informational interviews, which is the other like really key brave thing that I think is important. It's like, okay, so how do you find out more about different, career paths? If you don't know anything about those career paths, well, you go and do informational interviews. So I what you were saying, where you reached out to that person from Warner Brothers, and you go into it like not expecting a job.
Exactly.
Right? Like the last thing you want. Yeah, so like the last thing you want is to say like, oh, do you have a job? Because then it's easy for the attorneys to say like, oh, no job, can't help.
Exactly.
So I think it's great what you're saying, that like you did these informational interviews, magically they did result in a job. But I think it's so important to say that all that happened in your first year. I mean, that's really rare. Most law students are still trying to figure it out in their first year and academically. So they're not
absolutely.
On the job side.
No,
so I
absolutely.
think it's really important to just like pick out those key nuggets in your story, because the earlier that law students can get started in taking their destiny into their own hands and really starting to think about what kind of career path you want, the better off that they will.
Exactly.
So love it. Just wanted to like make sure that everybody was absorbing all these great nuggets.
Thank you so much.
Continue on.
No, I appreciate it. And that's exactly what I was going to talk about later on. It's so important. But essentially I had an amazing experience at Warner Brothers. I had set up an entertainment law job at a firm for the following summer. So I knew I had these entertainment opportunities set up. However, at the end of the summer, I kind of realized, okay, I'm doing entertainment. I'm at the epitome of it. I love it. I do. But having a law degree could genuinely open up many doors if you are interested in specific topics. So I thought to myself, what if I would like litigation better, or bankruptcy, or trust and wills, or real estate, or even just general business law better. And I felt that there's so, and this particularly was kind of ringing in my head when I was trying to select my classes and just play around with my schedule right before my 2L year started, because that's when you get to select classes. And I would see I have so many different options, but I have no idea what I'm going to like. And so I also during that summer, I also set up an externship, which I'll talk about later why I think is so important, because it's just another way to get hands-on experience. So I was actually at Christie's Auction House, which is in New York, and they actually have branches all over. It's international and in London as well, but it's essentially like Sotheby's, kind of where they auction off multi-million dollars worth of art and jewelry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think they do real estate. I'm not sure, but so that was another way. I was like, maybe I'll like art law, and so this would be a perfect way for me to get that type of experience. However, after that, I loved it, but I was like, you know what? I really just want to find this thing that I'm so excited about to wake up in. And so then I took the skills that I got from 1L with being comfortable with shooting out 1,000 emails. And this is something that I really want to emphasize as well. You might shoot out 1,000 emails and only get 10 responses, and that's okay, because as my story from 1L, it worked. You never know who you're going to talk to that might be able to open a door for you. So putting in that effort is so worth it. And you have to just get used to either getting no response or getting responses from people like, no, I don't have the time. Thanks for reaching out. So I got comfortable with that. And then I took those skills that I learned as a 1L with being comfortable with that, and then applied it to all those different sectors that I was interested in. So I was reaching out to real estate attorneys. I was reaching out to general business attorneys, IP attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, just anyone that was willing to talk to me about their experiences. I wanted to listen, because I knew I was investing so much money in this degree. I wanted to make sure that whatever I'm choosing to do in 10 years from now, I'm not going to be like, oh, I wish I tried out something else, or I wish I did this or that. And so it just so happened that in March of my 2L year, in March 2019, I was talking to this general business attorney out in LA, and he was so nice, and he had a specialization in cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is something that I was so interested in, because I'm always trying to figure out what's the next big thing. Is this real? Is Bitcoin? Like, well, I hear my friends are making so much money, or they're losing so much money. But I was very interested in that. So I wanted to learn about what that was like practicing as a cryptocurrency lawyer. And because the regulation is very underdeveloped, it's constantly evolving. But essentially, he was like, you know what? I'm a solo practitioner. I don't have any legal interns. I don't have an associate. Would you be willing to kind of complete some project-based work for me? And you can learn, and I can get some high-quality work. And I said, absolutely. I was so excited about that. And as I started to work with him, he was sending me any types of assignments, from legal blog post writing to legal research to regulatory analysis to state-by-state analysis to drafting contracts, because he was also a general business attorney. So I was drafting operating agreements. So I was learning so much just by doing these project-based work for this one firm. And then I realized, you know what? If he loves this setup so much, I'm learning so much, why not try to reach out to trust and wills attorneys or bankruptcy attorneys and explain to them that I'm learning, but I would love to help you out. And so that's what I did. And like, I was so excited by everything I was doing, even though I was still in school and my days were crazy long. I was just ecstatic about being able to help these attorneys out. So what this kind of leads me to is that throughout this process, I realized that there really is a problem in the legal education system. And that problem is, at least where I've spoken to multiple law students in similar situations where they're not really sure about what they want to do in the practice of law. So the education system is so important to get that doctrinal foundational education, but it fails to focus on how to actually practice law. So drafting classes I actually found were really great and really useful to see what it's like. Okay, what does a commercial litigator do? What type of documents do they draft? What does an entertainment attorney, even though I had the firm experience, I took entertainment law drafting, and my professor was this amazing woman who used to work at HBO. So she was giving us some real life experience. And so I found those classes were my favorite, in addition to paper classes where I was able to choose topics. So at some point, I also became really interested in privacy law, because obviously that's rapidly developing. Obviously, our privacy and our data is essential, yet we are not really told how they use our data off these big companies. So I was really interested in that. So I found a lot of paper classes where I was able to cater my papers to these specific topics. For example, I combined a paper on elder law and privacy law within the UK and the US, or energy law. I wrote a paper on this new type of energy. However, in order for it to become mainstream, you have to implement it in an app, and what are some of the privacy repercussions for that. So all these different ways, in addition to working with these lawyers, really allowed me to like analyze and discover all these different sectors within the law and see what I felt most passionate about. And so this is something that I think law schools need to emphasize more. And yeah, and then it's something else to also just to kind of make everyone feel a little bit better is that when you look at the numbers of the amount of people that go to OCI and actually go to the big law firms, there is a great amount. And at some schools, it's like 90% of students don't actually go to these big law firms. So they're having to find the smaller and medium-sized firms to find some sort of specialization in. So if you hear that number, that 90% or even 50% or 70% of students are not going to these big corporate firms and are left scrambling, searching for figuring out a job or figuring out a passion, it just should help you realize that you're not alone in this. And I think a major thing that I felt throughout law school was that I felt very alone, that I didn't know what I wanted to do, that I was kind of lost. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat, but a lot of people might be afraid to admit that. But I want everyone who's listening today and who watches this video to realize that you're actually not alone. And a lot of people are in the same boat. A lot of people might say, oh yeah, I'm so obsessed with this type of law or this type of law. Yet if they had the opportunity to discover another type of law, they might love that too. So we're all just trying to figure it out. But that's why I think getting multiple types of experiences really truly helps you find your passion. And again, as I emphasize again and again, that's what's key in any career path, any profession that you embark on.
Well, and I think it's also important to say that, hey, like if you already know that that you don't want to go to big law, if that it was not like in you from the start, and if you're interested in going to mid-size firms, what I was so frustrated with is the law school career services offices often aren't great 100%. At building lasting connections with the mid-size firms and the smaller firms and solo practitioners. So it's like you almost never saw those types of positions on Simplicity or whatever job hunting platform that they had. So it just seemed like the only options that there were out there were either the public service jobs that they put on there or the law firm, large law firm jobs. And so if you already know that this is what you want to do, the way that you reach out to mid-sized firms, the way that you reach out to small firms is that you know that you can, reach out to them and tell them that you're willing to do this type of work. Because I think a lot of mid-sized and small firms, they don't regularly hire, huge classes of people every year. But they often will hire on an ad hoc basis. And when they are swamped in work, they're willing to take on people. But you have to be the one who reaches out and says, hey, I'm here and I can do the work.
Exactly. No, and I not only appreciate you so much bringing in your own experiences, because it shows me, myself, that I'm not alone. I'm not just coming up with this whole theory by myself. It's true. And like a lot of people have the same experiences, but that's a perfect segue into what I was going to begin speaking on next, is how to actually get that hands-on experience. So I briefly mentioned that I completed an externship my first semester of 2L year. And that I thought was an incredible opportunity, not only because you get school credit. So that is number one, the best thing ever, because you're getting 3 credits or however many credits you are allocated from your school. So that takes away from some of the hours that it might have spent on taking exams or studying for the exam, building your outlines. And so you're getting this hands-on experience. And I remember more of what I did at that externship than I remember in my classes that semester. And so that's personally me. I personally am much better at learning when I get hands-on experience. So I think externships are an incredible way to gain hands-on experience. And so if your school offers them, if your school sends out blasts for any sort of in-house or firm externships, that's great. And I would hop on those immediately. And then, as I mentioned again briefly, that it's also important to take classes that interest you. I know that every single person tells you to take those essential classes for the bar, and I agree. I would never tell you not to take those classes if you want to be the most prepared as possible for the bar exam. But I also think it's great to supplement some of those classes with those 2 credit classes like startup law, or I took a blockchain and smart contracts class. I took a international financial crimes class. Like I really tried to and energy law I mentioned, and those were actually my favorite classes because I was so interested in them. And obviously, trust and wills and evidence are extremely important for the bar. And if you're interested in anything that relates to those classes, of course, take those, but also try to take the other classes that are offered at your school. And so, as Angie mentioned, even though the career center might not have those relationships with the mid-size or smaller firms, if you have a job board, like Fordham had a Fordham Simplicity site, I think you mentioned that. I think everyone might have a Simplicity site, but search those Simplicity sites, because a lot of times there are medium and smaller size firms or solo practitioners that are posting on there. So scour those boards, find out an email address, and shoot them emails. And that leads me to the next important thing I think that we can all discuss and learn from is the importance of perfecting that email. So if you send out an email en masse where you're not really catering it to that specific firm, the chances of you getting a response are very low. People don't like, or at least in my experiences, they don't like receiving just a templated email like, "Hi, I'm interested in this. Can you help me?" They like when you say, "Hey, I saw your blog post. I really liked what you had to say." Or, "Hey, I saw you're connected with this person on LinkedIn." Like, find a way to create a connection with that person. This is something I'm even doing today. And I've connected with so many incredible people, including Angie on LinkedIn, just from being connected with other people and being second or third connections. So catering the email to that is essential. And so the way that I would you still have templated emails, but you just have to change a sentence or two within it. So let's say you're reaching out to a bankruptcy attorney. You can say, "Hi, so-and-so, my name is so-and-so. I go to this school. I noticed your blog post. I love what you wrote." Or, "I noticed you're connected to this person," or just any sort of intro to how you found their contact information. And I would love, "I'm personally interested in this. Do you have a brief moment just to hop on a call so I could pick your brain about your experiences?" And that's essentially what I did. And I think those templated emails, just showing you're genuinely interested, are really incredible. And I think what I've been discovering, and I just spoke with someone actually who works in marketing, saying email for sales on a company has not been great during the pandemic, but LinkedIn has been. And so if you are on LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is an incredible, incredible tool to connect with people. However, I think everyone can agree who's active on LinkedIn, no one likes to receive like a request with a message saying like, "Hey, can you help me out?" Like, just send a request to someone and then follow their content, interact with their post. If they write a blog post, read their blog post and point out something that you really liked about it, and then comment that on their post. And people really, I know for myself, I appreciate that so much. Someone really took the time to read my post and comment on it and take in what I'm saying. Like, I personally love that. And when someone does that and then maybe message me like, "Hey, I love your story. I love what you're doing. Would you want to chat with me? I'm currently a law student," like, or "I'm a pre-law student and I'm a bit confused. I don't know what to do." And I'm so open to just connecting with people and telling them my story, helping them figure it out. And Angie, she's the mentor of all mentors. So I'm sure she has more experiences with people reaching out to her and giving them advice. But people are willing to do that. And that's something I really learned with the legal system and the legal profession in general, is that so many people, when you get them and you strike a chord with them, they are willing to help. And so they are willing to help you and give you advice. And I think that's what's so great about the legal profession, is that it is a community and you can really pick people's brains and people are willing to give you advice and stories. And so that's one.
I always hear from, especially very young college students, people who are like freshmen and sophomores who come into our mentoring program. They are terrified to reach out to lawyers. They think we're gonna like bite or something. I think in their brains they're like, "Okay, these lawyers must be super busy. They've got these super high, high stress jobs. They probably don't want to talk to me. They probably don't want to help me." This is totally false. Yes, I definitely know lawyers who are like that.
Oh yeah.
I would say it's probably like 50-50. For every
Hmm.
one that I run into that says like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have the time, I run into like another person who's like so open,
Right.
so willing, so ready to help. And so like, yeah, you might send out, like Hayley said, you might send out 1,000 messages, but all you need is like one person to take a chance
Exactly.
to say yes and to help you. So I think it's totally okay to be afraid to reach out, but reach out anyway. Just do it anyway.
Hmm. Exactly.
So there are tons of people who are willing to help as long as you're willing to show that you're willing to put in the effort. It's a two-way
Exactly.
street. Like Hayley said, that's a great approach to message somebody on LinkedIn and say, I've been following your content for a while. I'm so interested in what you do. I would love to learn more about, XYZ. And like if somebody did that with me, I'm usually more than happy to get on a call. What I
Exactly.
hate is when people reach out to me right away and they ask for something. Can like they're like,
100%.
I saw on your profile that you review resumes. Here, please revise. And I'm
Yeah.
like, who are you? Like I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I
Exactly.
think it's just important to know that like you have to deliver some value to
Hmm.
that person too by saying like, hey, I'm ready, willing, and able to learn, to help, to do something. And one of the great things that you can do if you reach out to a lawyer, they give you all this time and they share with you all this
Hmm.
nuggets of wisdom. You can post on LinkedIn and say, hey, I connected with this
Yep.
lawyer today and they shared with me all these nuggets of wisdom. Here's like 3 of them, and it just,
Hmm.
one, it acknowledges that person for spending time with you. So then they're like, oh, wow, they gave me some kudos and people can see it. Or you could even write them a LinkedIn recommendation and say, like, this person spent 2 hours on the phone with
Hmm.
me explaining all these things to me. And like you're delivering some value to them.
Hmm.
So focus on what you can give back to the person that's spending time with you.
Exactly. And you keep leading me right into my next topic of conversation because one part of networking is not only being able to have the courage just to reach out to someone and be okay with, maybe not receiving a response, but it's also having integrity and having appreciation for the person's time because as much as lawyers are so willing to speak with others and guide them, they are very busy human beings, and whether they're practicing or they're not, like whoever you're seeking to get advice from, they're taking time out of their day to help you, and they just want to see that you're appreciative of that. And so as Angie mentioned, it's so important to show that you are so just willing to learn because that's what we are as law students, and we're learning. You're learning what it's like not only to be a lawyer in the future, but you're learning how to be professional within a specific profession that requires like the highest level of professionality, if that's a word. But yeah, it's so always emphasize your willingness to learn and always just have a genuine interest and energy into what you're seeking to learn about. So I think one key thing is that people are able to tell when someone's being genuine or not. And so if someone's taking the time out of the day, but you don't really have questions to ask them or have thought about it before, looked into their practice before you hopped on a call, they're going to notice that. So one thing once you are able to land that phone call or land that Zoom call now, research the person before, see what they've done, ask them specific questions about their experiences, and just have confidence in the fact that you know that this person is excited and willing to talk to you. So that should just give you confidence in and of itself. And so just to go into that as well, reputation in this industry is so key. Professionalism is just your reputation in the legal community, especially if you're on LinkedIn, it goes a long way. And so you want people when they hear your name to be like, and this is a piece of advice actually I got on one of the calls that I took back as a 1L or 2L is that when people hear your name, they want to hear, oh, he is so hardworking. He or she is an amazing communicator, an amazing listener. They ask such incredible questions or just so eager to learn. I love their energy. Like that's the type of reputation you want. You don't want someone to say, oh, this person like, oh yeah, I took the time to call and they just didn't really seem interested. Or, I sent an assignment to this person and they weren't as thorough as I expected them to be. You always want, and another thing, if you do have the opportunity to either extern or complete project-based work, or just are at a firm at any point in your learning career, or even as an associate, you always, always, always want to over deliver. So if someone asks you to provide 6 to 9 cases in when they're drafting a motion or drafting a complaint, you want to deliver the 9, and you also want to deliver a full analysis, relevant language, highlight the text in the PDF of the case that you're looking at. Like, you always want to do the best of the best work, because again, this goes into your reputation, and that's something that I emphasize, and that is so important, because not only does it make you look amazing, it makes the lawyer's life a lot easier, and that's what they love too. They love not only giving you the opportunity to learn from them when you're completing this work, they also love that to see not only that you're putting in the extra work, but on the next assignment, if they give you feedback, you're taking that feedback and applying it to whatever assignment that you're given. And then one final thing that I wanted to say about professionalism, and this is something that I specifically look for 100% of the time, is when someone takes the time to speak to you or interview you or just give you, like, hop on a Zoom call, you should always, always, always say thank you, not only at the end of the interview or the talk, but send a thank you email afterwards, or thank you message via LinkedIn. Like, that just shows the person that you're appreciative for their time. You know that their time is valuable, and you took away something from the conversation that you're going to apply to the rest of your career. I personally always look for a thank you note, because I think that just shows the key to professionalism. It shows that they're excited to have spoken to you, and they're just excited to have connected with you. And I think that is truly, truly key when connecting with someone. I'm not sure if other people are as big of sticklers as that in a thank you note as I am, but I do know people in other professions as well who specifically look for that as, when they're interviewing candidates. Like, one of my best friends works at a PR firm, and she told me when they interviewed 5 candidates, only 2 of them sent thank you notes, and those were the only 2 that they were going to bring on to the next round of the interview process. So you never know the type of person that is going to, whether or not they're really going to care. But for me, it's better to, one, want to do it. You should want to say thank you and be appreciative, and 2, be safe than sorry. Even if they don't care, showing that you say thank you, it's only going to look positively on your professionalism and on what you're doing. And so,
and I would use those thank you notes, I would take that up a notch and use that and say, thank you notes are your opportunity to follow up with someone and show them that you're willing to take that relationship forward. So
100%.
In your thank you note, you write, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciated all of your advice. I particularly liked things you said about blank, 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 and blank. Try to use at least one thing from the conversation that they gave you advice about where you have to take another step. Because what happens is so say like that attorney told you, go join this organization so that you can learn more about this area of law. You're like, okay, got it. So write in your thank you note, like, I really appreciated what you said about joining these organizations. I'll let you know what happens after I join. Then you use that. I always take that thank you note, I attach it to a calendar invite and I like schedule it out a month from now. And
I love that.
Say okay, I'm going to follow up with them in a month from now, and I'm going to go do what I said I was going to do in my thank you email. And then you write back to them in a month and you say, hey, I went and joined this organization. I met all these great people. This is all the things that I learned. Thank you so much for, telling me to do that. Are there any other recommendations? Are there any other organizations that you recommend? Or are there any publications that you recommend that I read? And those are ways that you can continue building on that relationship. What's really important is the follow through. Like that initial meeting, that initial informational interview, that is like your very first step on a very long path. So if you only take that first step and then you drop off and you never ever speak to that attorney again, oh my gosh, that is like a whole line of value that you just cut off from yourself. So
absolutely.
Your goal really is to take these relationships and expand them as much as you can. So and both of you are going to get busy. You're going to get busy. The attorney's going to get busy. So, obviously value their time. Don't take up a lot of their time. But it takes 2 minutes for them to read an email from you that says, hey, I just wanted to check in. It's been a couple months and I took your advice on this and this and this. And, can we connect again sometime in the future when you're free? Like that takes them 2 minutes. So
Yep.
it's not a terrible thing to call upon them again. Don't be afraid to call upon them again, but make sure that you have some additional value to deliver in that message. So just
Absolutely.
use your thank you notes as a way to follow up.
Hmm. That is such great advice too. I love that idea of putting in the calendar a month later. That's brilliant. I never thought to do that. I would just go back through my email, but that's such a great way to organize your follow up. So everyone should definitely take that advice. I love that. And just a final piece of advice about passion and where you want to go. A lot of great things about being a law student is that you get a lot of legal research or legal sources and legal news articles for free. So go on to Law 360, go on to these different new like journals that allow you to get a newsletter in within specific sectors. So I went on Law 360 when I was a 2L and clicked on everything. So every morning I wake up to 15 emails that has the headlines of the most recent news within each specific sector. So that way you're informed on the big news within the different sectors. And then if you want to do a follow up with a specific bankruptcy attorney, say, hey, I just read this case on this bankruptcy article. Did you read it? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or that's just an easy way to create a conversation with them as well. And it's also a great way to stay informed on what's in the news. And also if you subscribe to 15 of them, and then in the morning after about a couple weeks, you realize, oh, I'm more drawn to reading about these articles. Maybe that's an indication of what you're passionate about. And so you never know, but it's always great to stay informed, and it's such a quick and easy way to stay up to date on the recent news. And yeah, those are my tidbits of advice.
So Hayley, can you walk us through, tell us how gigLAW works?
Okay, of course.
And how do you get matched with your projects and everything, and what types of organizations do you work with?
Absolutely. So gigLAW originally worked. It was just me working with my clients. And so they would send me the assignments. I would do them. I was finishing up law school, and then I would send them back to them and make sure it was of the highest quality. I graduated law school in May 2020, and beginning in June 2020, even though I had this concept already going and I was already expanding, bringing on more and more clients for my own personal services, I realized that if I want to expand this, not only for the benefit of the company itself, but for the benefit of law students to be able to gain the type of experience that I had, in addition to the law firms that I'm able to help out and the companies. We recently have been bringing out some companies, which is awesome. I have to bring on law students, make at the website, and advertise to more firms. And so that's essentially what I started doing. It's been a couple of months now. We've been growing immensely. So we're always looking for these awesome students to sign on. And right now, the way that it works is that I have a team here, and we directly work with our students on receiving and sending them projects, sending them assignments, receiving the assignments back, doing the quality control before we send it out to our clients. And what I have found to be the most useful part of the platform for our students is that we do provide them with an immense amount of feedback. So sometimes they don't want feedback, so we're fine. You just send us the assignment, hands off. But sometimes a lot of students are looking to learn, and some of them have just finished their 1L year and are constantly developing their skills. So, for example, we had one student, he actually was the one who had to find the 6 to 9 cases. And he found 6. And so then in a situation like that, I go, you want to over deliver. So you want to find the 9. And I personally, and like his analysis was good, but it wasn't great. So I said to him, here's what you can do to improve your analytical skills when you're doing case law research. And so we have a couple of team members here helping with the quality control, helping our students. And what's especially impressive with that student who I just mentioned is that every bit of feedback that we gave him on that first assignment or second assignment, on the next assignment, he actually implemented each piece of feedback, and the final deliverable was fantastic. So that was a big victory to see, because people are actually learning from the platform and taking it seriously. And so it's very exciting. And if anyone's interested in going through our application process, we'd be more than happy to get that going. I'm not sure if my email is anywhere, but I guess I could type it in the chat right now.
Yeah. So Hayley, how long do the projects generally last?
So that varies. So you can have an assignment if you want to do a longer term assignment. We have clients who are looking for that longer term intern and X amount of hours per week that they want. And so that's generally, that can be set up. But if if you're busy, if you're already externing, you just want to supplement this with just a couple of hours of work a week, we can send you assignments that sometimes, the thing is, we do have very tight deadlines sometimes. So sometimes we get an assignment at 12 o'clock noon on Tuesday and it's due at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. So we send you the assignment and then you can get it done. It should only take a couple of hours. So it really varies. We get assignments of all sorts. We have both litigators, transactional attorneys from all different sectors.
That's awesome. Does anybody, so we're actually great on time. We're right at 12:45. If people want to chime in and ask Hayley any questions, please feel free to jump on in, unmute yourselves and get on your video and ask away. So what are some of the things that what are some common pieces of feedback that you give? What are kind of some of the key mistakes that you see most people?
So I actually find that one of the biggest mistakes, and it's very, very broad, but when we get a legal research assignment and there are subparts and multiple parts of one question, I find that the students often get overwhelmed. So the key piece of advice with legal research questions is that break it down. See, okay, what's the overarching sector that I'm looking in? What's the jurisdiction I need to look in? Are there subparts of the question? Do I have to break down the question? Do I have to find different meanings within different contexts? So one question we just got in was to find different supporting law for various causes of action within a complaint. So I found that this person did a pretty good job, but she just missed the overall arch of figuring out, okay, I needed to find A, B, and C, not A, B, C. Like she kind of combined them all. So break it apart. And I think that is key. So and then sometimes we get from a transactional attorney, for example, we might get a multiple part assignment where it's, okay, I need a specific type of agreement. I need research on the legal issues surrounding that agreement. And I need a couple of templates that would be beneficial for my client. So again, my first piece of key advice is to break that down. Say, okay, what am I going to tackle first? And if you set mini goals for yourself for the end goal, that actually makes it less overwhelming and you're better able to do that. And I also think one key piece of advice I can give people is don't give up. If you can't find a case, take a little break, take an hour, go watch TV, and then go back to it. Maybe try using a different key, like search word. So for example, we had one client who needed a film investment agreement or a film financing agreement. I'm not sure which term he used, but I sent it to the student and she reached out to me a couple of hours later being like, I'm really stressed, I can't find it. And I go, have you tried searching different keywords? Like instead of film investment agreement, look up film financing agreement. And just changing that one word made the search results like absolutely astronomically different and much easier to find exactly what she needed to find. And so it's not getting, I think one thing that I experienced myself as a legal intern was that I would get overwhelmed very easily because as law students, you naturally, when you're going to law school, you're naturally like, I don't want to say everyone's a perfectionist, but you want to get it right. Like you want to be great at everything that you do. You want to understand, you want to comprehend the logic behind anything that you're attempting to solve. And if you reach a hurdle or a roadblock, just don't get discouraged. You're learning, you're figuring it out. And that's what I think is most important, is that you just have to keep trying, go at a problem in multiple ways until you find that right solution. And you will find the right solution. So I think, Lisa just said creativity and searching is key to legal research. And she eloquently put together exactly what I was trying to summarize.
So are all of the projects paid or unpaid, or are there some paid, some unpaid? Paid. Okay.
All paid, because that was something that as a law student, like I went to law school from 22 to 25. So when I was 23, 24 years old and I had loans, and I'm sure everyone who has taken out loans realizes that interest accrues immediately. So when you go into that, right now it's not because of the pandemic, which is very nice breather, I'm sure, for many people, but or at least for the federal loans. But that was something that was so overwhelming to me when I signed into my student loans portal and I saw it increase so much just in a year when I was a student. I'm like, I'm a student, give me a break. And I was like, I cannot. And there were a lot of firms that I reached out to for jobs, not just networking. They were like, oh yeah, you can work for us, but either you get credit or it's unpaid. You're just getting the experience. So for me, I was just like, what the heck? I'm an adult. I can't not get paid right now. So we get like every assignment we give is 100% paid. And we appreciate the work everyone's doing. So it's valuable. So it should be paid.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Hayley?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Haley. My name is
Hi.
Mark. I'm a
Hey,
pre-law
Mark.
student.
I think
I
we
had a
just
question.
connected on LinkedIn.
We did, and I
Okay.
actually signed up for the email thread for gigLAW. So,
Yeah.
I just had a
Amazing.
question in terms of like, I'm an international student, so you know how like working is like.
Yes.
I wonder how does that work for you guys? I just want to know if there's any possibility for international students, just because I know it's paid and
Right.
paperwork in terms of stuff like that.
Right. So right now we've actually, because we have had a lot of interest from international students, which we're so excited about because we do have international firms. So right now we don't offer any sponsorship opportunities. However, we are rapidly growing. I hope that in the future we absolutely can, but all of our students, we call them law student contractors. So they're independent contractors. So at the
Mhm.
moment, unfortunately, we don't, but in the future, like we'll be there.
And then just wondering, how is the application process for you guys? Because I received an email just saying,
Mhm.
send me your resume, your writing sample, and stuff like that. Like, how is the application process for you guys, and what makes a person stand out to be
Mhm.
chosen for these projects?
So we have the usual application process where we require a minimum GPA. We want to see relevant work experience and we want to see writing samples and just see that not only you have great writing skills, but also you're blue booking, because we have a lot of clients that require us to do citing and sourcing and blue booking, which I personally did not love in law school, but I'm doing a lot more of it now. So it's interesting so that we have that. But what we find most important is our interview process. So we just want to see when we interview someone that they are genuinely excited about exploring in depth, or just, excited about the concept of the platform because they just want to be able to feel passionate about whatever they're pursuing in the law. So most of the students that we've interviewed have all showed that, and it's been very exciting to speak to these students and hear about their experiences, hear about why they went to law school, and hear about what they hope to see their career as in 1, 5, 10 years. So yeah, it's just showing genuine excitement, and as I mentioned, genuine appreciation for any opportunity or just chatting. And obviously, even if someone doesn't get the position to be a law student contractor, I'm still more than happy to not only refer them to Angie as an incredible mentor, but if they ever wanted to chat with me about anything, I'm completely open to that. So yeah, that's generally how it goes.
And is your platform only for law students, or can you be a pre-law student or a paralegal or young lawyer?
Right. So right now, actually, all of our students on right now are law students. However, we are exploring options because I've actually spoken to a couple of young lawyers who recently passed the bar and are interested in getting some work done or like receiving assignments. So that actually is great for us because we love having licensed attorneys on board, because that's a great selling point to the law firms. And sometimes law firms want to have licensed attorneys on a project. So, but even though our students right now are only law students, we are currently exploring options to expand that. But paralegals are always great, and we actually have not had any paralegals reach out with their information. Maybe that's because when I send that initial email, we do require the unofficial transcript and etc. But yeah, we'd have to explore the idea behind that, and I could definitely be open to it.
I have a
Anybody else?
question. I had a question. So in the specialization that you've chosen, is there prospect for earning good money?
So I've actually decided to forego the legal practicing path for now and embark on this entrepreneurial path. And it's funny because what kind of clicked for me in this realm, not only was I seeing the amount of interest from firms for my types of services, but also interest from law students. So I see that there's this gap, and gigLAW is kind of like the bridge for that. So I'm very excited to be doing that. And what really made me find this passion, where even though I'm working 17, 18-hour days, I'm so excited about it, is when I was in a startup law class, so as I mentioned, taking 2 credit classes are really great, or just the smaller classes because they are niche. When I was in the startup law class, one of our assignments was to come up with a startup idea ourselves. And so I was racking my brain for a startup idea. I didn't really come up with anything great, but I had to go through all the legality behind getting the startup set up. So whether you're registering it as an LLC, C Corp, S Corp, what state you're going to register it in, all the trademark issues, depending on the entity you want, whether it's an operating agreement or anything, that all the requirements for getting a startup up and running, I was doing that. And so that was kind of when it was like, it clicked for me when I was like, you know what, I now have these tools to start a startup of my own. And so when I graduated law school and I was receiving all this interest and making it's profitable right now. So whoever just said that class sounds so cool, it was awesome. It was a really incredible class. And sometimes those best classes are within the 2 credit classes. But so that's the path I'm on right now. But I think you shouldn't chase after money. You should chase after what's going to make you happy, and then the money will follow you. And I've read that a lot before, and I just never understood that. But I genuinely think if you just pursue what you're passionate about and you're happiest in, you're going to perform the best. And once you perform the best, that's when you get the raises, that's when you get promotions, and that's when you succeed. And everyone defines success differently, but I truly think just find what you're passionate about and go for it.
Question? Oh,
Hi.
Hello, Hayley. Thank you for coming to speak with us. Thank you, Angie, for setting us up and inviting us. And my LinkedIn mom, Lisa Gokul's on here. So my question is that, do you recommend for anyone trying to get into law school, they should work for maybe a couple of years to get some experience? Because I was supposed to go to law school this year, but the pandemic kind of screwed it up.
Yeah.
And my parents are pushing me to go to law school next year. So would you recommend for aspiring lawyers to get some real practical work experience first? Because the loan crisis for my generation and our generation is so severe. So I'm just wondering if we need to save up money and time for our going to law school first. So thank you.
No, I think that's a fantastic question. And I think it's completely a personal decision. So it's totally on what you want your goals to be. Because I know plenty of people who have I personally went straight from undergrad to law school. And I personally had wished that I had taken some time just to explore some of my interests, and then maybe I would have felt a little less lost. However, I also know people that went straight through and are so happy to have done so. So I think obviously debt and taking out loans, and it's an absolutely insane time. I can't tell you what to do. I'm sure Angie has better advice for you, but I think it's completely personal. I think you won't make the wrong decision either way. And it's just like, if you want to get a job, explore a specific sector, a specific industry before you go to law school, that's great. If you want to just go jump in, I know tons of law schools that if you do well on your LSAT, if you have a great GPA, you can get a lot of scholarship. Like I got a couple of full rides. Sometimes I wish I took those full rides, but I didn't. I took out some loans, but everything works out. I'm the biggest proponent of everything works out the way it's meant to be. And that's truly what it is. So Angie, you probably can answer this better of whether someone should go straight or take a time, or if it is a personal decision. So if you want to hop in.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I always say it's completely a personal decision. What I think is really important is students put the time in to learn what law school is really all about before they go. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do it through work experience. Like if you're like Hayley and you're out there doing all these informational interviews and you're learning so much from these practitioners already, then you know what you're getting into, and then feel free to go. What I really hate to see is when people express lane themselves through college and they think about law school as an academic exercise, and they're just like, I've just been achieving all my life, it's just another degree, that's what I'm there for. Like, no, law school is really the gateway to getting a job that you have to do for 40 years of your life. And so if you don't know what that job looks like, and then you come to find out, unfortunately, while you're in the middle of law school, that job is not for you, then that is the key tragedy. So like, I think if you can go to law school and make it work financially for you, go, but yes, the student loan crisis is intense. So find scholarship money. find ways to lessen your debt burden. Absolutely. Get a kick-ass LSAT score. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to just make sure that your financial investment into law school isn't so crippling that you're tied to a job that you don't like for the rest of your life. So,
Exactly.
so that's, how I feel about it. You go whenever you feel ready to go. But if you have not put in the work to learn what being a lawyer is all about, or if you have not put in the research to figure out how much a legal education is actually going to cost you, then you have no business applying to law school. Don't do it, because you're going to get in there and you're going to get knee deep after your first year, and you're already pot committed. Like, oh my gosh, I've already spent all this money. I have to keep going. And you might just find yourself miserable on the other end.
Yeah, and I have a comment on this, if you don't mind. So I went straight through and I did what Angie said not to, which is go for the degree. It worked out. I had worked for a law firm in high school and then a judge in college. So it was a profession I liked, but I'm still paying off student loan debt after 23 years. Like I said, it worked out. I enjoy my profession, but my sister and brother, also being Asian, my sister went to medical school, my brother went to law school. Neither of them are practicing now. So I would say, and I think Olivia has good advice on this, I believe she went to night school. If you try getting a job in the profession first, and then sometimes night school is a great option, or wherever you can go for the least amount of money, because it doesn't really matter where you went to law school to me once you become a lawyer. Once you're actually practicing, no one cares about the law school or the grades. They care about how good you are. So go to the law school that will cost you, and at least my brother went to the law school where he got the most scholarships, so it's not crippling debt from that. But I think I do wish I'd gone as an evening student and had a job with the law firm during the day, because I think that would have been much more and the people I've seen do that have been wildly successful at it. So that's just my point of view. To my LinkedIn son.
All right. Well, I know we're at 1:00, and so if you guys need to drop off, feel free to drop off. Thank you so much for your time today, Hayley. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was so much fun. So if anybody wants to reach out to Hayley, you can connect with her on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that she's be happy to tell you all about gigLAW. So so reach out. And I'll see you guys back again next week for our meetups on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So bye all.
Bye everyone. Thank you.